I live in Portland, and if I were to drive 3 hours north up to Seattle, I'd get along pretty well because life is the same basically up there. We've both got the same languages, we've got similar values, and they're both part of the same country, the United States of America. In ancient Greece, though, this wasn't necessarily the case. If you went from one city-state to another city-state, life could be very different there. That's what we're going to look at today. And I know you've heard me say this before, but ancient Greece was not one country. That's right. They were a number of independent city-states, and the cultures that developed in these city-states could be very different from each other. To illustrate this, we're going to look at two of ancient Greece's superpowers and look at the different cultures that developed there. So today we're taking a look at two city-states and the cultures that developed there, Athens and Sparta. The city-state of Athens is located in central Greece. It's a few miles from the Aegean Sea. As we're going to see, this location brought many new ideas into Athens. This connection to the rest of the world definitely shaped the culture of Athens and produced thinkers and artists. Sparta, on the other hand, was isolated on a plain between the mountains. Spartans did not welcome visitors, and they were able to produce enough food in the area around them, so they didn't trade as often. This isolation shaped Spartan culture and produced soldiers. If we were to oversimplify things, if somebody were to ask me, what did Spartans and Athenians value? I'd probably say Athenians valued reason and logic, and the Spartans valued war. Let's take a look at Athens. The soil surrounding Athens was not great for farming. Because of this, they had to trade for a lot of their needs. This opened Athens up to a lot of new ideas from around the world. Because they lived next to the sea, they traded with the islands of the Aegean Sea. They welcomed and encouraged artists from other city-states into Athens, and it really produced a lot of artists and thinkers. Spartans, however, discouraged trade. They feared the spread of new ideas and thought might weaken their government. They conquered land they needed for farming and enslaved their neighbors and made them into farmers. To trade within the city of Athens, Athenians developed their own coins and made out of silver, copper, and gold. Spartans, on the other hand, used heavy iron bars as money. According to legend, this was because iron bars would be much harder to steal than coins. Now, we already discussed this at length in another video, but democracy developed in Athens. The government in Sparta was different. It had an oligarchy. There were 2 kings and 28 men who made up a council of elders. Men had to be at least 60 years old to be on this council. Oh, and in both Athens and Sparta, you had to be a male citizen to participate in government. Athenians believed democracy relied on having well-educated citizens with healthy minds and bodies. Because of this, a boy's education consisted of reading, writing, math, music, and fitness. Girls learned how to run a household from their mothers. Spartan education, on the other hand, produced soldiers. At the age of 7, boys left their families and entered military camps that were very harsh. They learned how to be warriors and would serve in the army from the ages of 18 to 30. Athenian men, on the other hand, served in the military for only 2 years. If you look at the Parthenon and other architecture of Athens, you can see that the Athenians really valued art and beauty. Their clothing and jewelry also reflected this. Spartans believed in a life of simplicity. Spartan clothing and housing, by Athenian standards, would have been considered boring. Spartan women were trained to fight, as they were seen as the last line of defense to protect the city. Because their husbands, who they got to choose, by the way, were off at war, they got to run the household and were even allowed to own property. Different from Sparta, Athenian women could not own property. They didn't learn how to read, and wealthy women in Athens had no choice in who they married. So as you can see, although we consider both ancient Athens and ancient Sparta Greek, they were both very different from each other. After the Persian Wars, Athens gained a lot of power in ancient Greece. Sparta and other city-states became jealous of this power, and Sparta and Athens fought a series of wars that lasted 27 years. These were called the Peloponnesian Wars. And even though Sparta won these wars, they continued to fight against each other, and Greece was kind of torn apart and weakened, which left it open for someone else to conquer. This person's name was Alexander the Great. Or was it Philip II? I don't know. You'll have to check out my video to find out. If you liked what you saw here, please consider hitting like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. Wait, no, that's what Vsauce says. I should say something else. Hey, continue learning the histories out there. No, that's not very cool either. Anyway, thanks for watching. Oh, I did it again.